3 minutes of silence, the ordinary flight that became a disaster prologue. Before anyone noticed, aviation accidents rarely begin with chaos. They begin with routine, with paperwork, with checklists, with people doing their jobs correctly, just not perfectly. Flight 417 did not raise alarms. It did not trigger concern. It did not delay departure. And that is exactly why it was dangerous. At 7:52 a.m., Captain Andrew Coleman walked through the terminal carrying the same flight bag he had used for years. He nodded to familiar faces. He ordered the same black coffee. He glanced at the weather report. Clear skies, calm winds, perfect visibility. There was no reason to expect anything but another ordinary flight. Chapter 1. A perfectly legal aircraft. The aircraft assigned to Flight 417 had accumulated thousands of flight hours. It was not old. It was not new. It was considered mature, a term airlines use for aircraft whose behavior is predictable. Maintenance records showed no deferred critical items, but aviation history has proven one thing repeatedly. Legal does not always mean safe. During the cockpit preparation, Andrew noticed something subtle. A cabin pressure sensor displayed momentary fluctuations, small, almost invisible changes. He watched the number stabilize, then shift again. "Let's rerun diagnostics," Andrew said. The first officer, Mark Lewis, complied immediately. The system test returned normal. No faults recorded. No warning stored. According to regulations, there was no justification to delay or cancel the flight. Andrew leaned back in his seat. Aviation teaches pilots to suppress instinct, to trust data, to trust procedures, so he did. Chapter 2. The Passengers. At 9:02 a.m., passengers began boarding. Row by row, stories took their seats. In 14A sat Emily Carter, flying alone for the first time since a turbulent flight years earlier had left her terrified of airplanes. She clutched her boarding pass like a lifeline. In 3C, Daniel Moore checked emails from work, already irritated that the flight would interrupt his schedule. In 22F, 8-year-old Lucas pressed his face against the window, watching ground crews move like tiny figures below. He wanted to be a pilot. He knew the names of most aircraft types. He believed airplanes were invincible. None of them noticed the faint tension in the flight attendants' movements. None of them heard the slightly longer pause before the captain's welcome announcement. At 9:17 a.m., Flight 417 departed the gate. Chapter 3. Climb takeoff was uneventful. The engines roared. The aircraft accelerated. The runway disappeared beneath the wings. At 10,000 feet, the seatbelt sign was turned off. Passengers relaxed. In the cockpit, autopilot engaged. Standard climb profile. All systems appeared normal. Andrew allowed himself to exhale. Then the caution light appeared. LOL, cabin pressure. Advisory yellow. Not an emergency. Mark opened the checklist. The system was designed to compensate automatically. The outflow valves should regulate pressure without pilot input. Andrew disengaged the autopilot. "I don't like how it feels," he said. "What exactly?" Mark asked. Andrew hesitated. "That's the problem. I can't explain it." Chapter 4. Escalation. 7 minutes later, the advisory became a warning. Red. The cabin pressure differential dropped suddenly. The aircraft shuddered. In the cabin, oxygen masks fell violently from the ceiling. The sudden noise caused panic. People screamed. Some didn't move at all, frozen by shock. Emily fumbled with her mask, struggling to breathe. Daniel stopped thinking about work entirely. Lucas stared at the mask in his hands, confused, his dream suddenly turning unfamiliar and frightening. Flight attendants shouted instructions, voices breaking through chaos. "Put the mask on first. Breathe normally. Stay seated." In the cockpit, alarms overlapped. Pressure was falling faster than expected. One outflow valve was stuck open. The backup system failed to respond. Andrew initiated an emergency descent. Chapter 5. The Race Against Time. At high altitude, Useful consciousness without oxygen is measured in seconds. The aircraft pitched downward sharply. Speed increased. Turbulence intensified. Air traffic control cleared the airspace ahead. Flight 417 descend at pilot's discretion. Andrew pushed the aircraft beyond normal descent limits. The cabin fell eerily quiet. Panic gave way to realization. A mother pulled her child close. The elderly couple held hands. Lucas watched mountains rise through the clouds. At 18,000 feet, a second system failed. Hydraulic pressure dropped. Then another. The aircraft became increasingly difficult to control. Mark looked at Andrew. "We're not going to make the airport." Andrew already knew. Chapter 6. The Decision. There are moments in aviation where there are no good choices, only survivable ones. Andrew scanned the terrain ahead. Ridgelines, snow-covered slopes, sharp elevation changes. "There," he said quietly. A sloped area. Not flat, not ideal, but possible. He keyed the microphone. "Mayday, Mayday. Flight 417E. Uncontrolled depressurization. Multiple system failures. Attempting emergency landing." Then he addressed the passengers. His voice was calm. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We are facing a serious emergency. Please assume the brace position. No panic now, just breathing." 3 minutes remained. Impact. The aircraft struck the slope at an angle. The left wing tore away instantly. The fuselage slid, twisted, broke apart. Sound vanished. Snow filled the cabin. Then nothing. Chapter 8. Rescue teams arrived hours later. Some passengers survived. Many did not. Lucas was among those rescued. His dream of becoming a pilot never left him, but it changed forever. Investigation. Investigating investigators reconstructed the flight second by second. The cause was listed as a chain of minor failures, a sensor fluctuation, a stuck valve, a delayed response, human decisions made under impossible pressure, no single fatal error, just time running out. Earlog. Why this matters: flying remains one of the safest forms of transportation. But safety is not magic. It is built from thousands of small decisions, and sometimes one of them breaks. Every flight depends on trust. And sometimes 3 minutes are all that separate routine from silence.